David Smith here with one more flipped classroom math lesson. 3 tips. First, you can adjust the playback speed faster or slower as you desire. Second, you can pause the video at any point to catch up with your notes or jot down some questions. Third, you can turn on the captions and read my words on the screen. Good morning, Math 1 students. Just a quick little video to help prep you up for the test. The geometry unit test covers chapter 8 and chapter 13 out of our book, and you're going to need to know pretty much everything that's in those 2 chapters. Okay? So I want to talk about some basic things that I want to make sure that you do in preparating for the test. That's a good word, preparating. And then we're going to talk about cheat sheets, like the kinds of things that you can put there. So the first thing, do the review problems. In fact, I should put that as thing 2 and thing 3, because what do you do on a test? Oh yeah, that's right, you work problems. So the best thing you can do to do well on that test is to do review problems. It's just more practice. You want to make sure all those techniques are fast and smooth, that you don't stumble, that you don't have to spend 5 minutes on one problem. You know where you're going, and the way to get there is just to do lots of practice problems. That should be most of your activity, reviewing for the test. Second thing, make your cheat sheet. As you know, in my class, you get to bring 1 page, double-sided, 8.5 by 11 of notes. You can put anything you want on there, and in a minute, I'm going to talk about the kinds of things you might want to put on your cheat sheet. Finally, these 2 are non-math, but they're important. Get enough sleep. If you stay up till 2 in the morning before the test and only get like 4 or 5 hours of sleep, you won't be at your best when you sit for the test. It's super, super important to get enough sleep. So plan your evening well. It might mean you have to socialize a little less and hit the books a little sooner if you want to get your best possible score on this test. Finally, eat breakfast. Your body is a machine. It needs to be fueled. Food is fuel. Fuel for your body, which includes, oh yes, your mind, which you need to do well on the test. So eat some breakfast, please. Okay, let's talk about that all-important cheat sheet. First off, 2 sheets should be more than enough. So if you're feeling the temptation to write in 4-point type and cram everything from the textbook and all the lesson videos onto your cheat sheet, it's probably not the right path. Okay, so a good cheat sheet might only be one side. I've seen people do that and they do just fine. Up to you, you get both sides of the piece of paper. Okay, so also has to be by hand. You can't do this on the computer and print it out. You've got to write it by hand. Okay? All right, so first thing, super important. Any theorem, rule, formula, set of instructions for how to do a certain problem, these things got to be on there because they're not on the test. So if you think you need the Pythagorean theorem, put that on there. If you think you need the midpoint formula, put that on there. Put all those formulas on the test. Okay? Second thing, example problems. Don't bother with that for the problems that you know you can do in your sleep, but there might be some tricky ones that you might want an example problem for. For example, on the midpoint formula, you were sometimes asked a question where you were given 1 point and the midpoint, and you had to find the end point. A little bit more tricky, so perhaps for you that might be a candidate for an example problem. Okay? Third, special tips or instructions. So this might relate to certain things that you struggle with. Maybe the word problems. So put like some steps for how to do some of those problems. These are steps that would be customized just to you. You might even have little warnings. Watch out for that because you make a certain mistake perhaps more often than not. So any special tips or instructions for you that you think will be helpful for while you're working the problems on the test. The last thing, this is kind of, maybe you might think it's silly, I don't. Give yourself some nice messages. I've seen students write, relax, in big words across the top. I've seen students write, take a deep breath, somewhere on there. Write, you can do this. Any number of messages. You could put them in, once you've got everything else on there, put them around the edges. Here's what's going on with that. 1, if you're thinking about that, then you're going to be more relaxed. You're going to take a deep breath and you're going to be, oh yes, I can do this test. And if you're looking at that sheet while you're testing, your mind is a sponge. So even though you're not consciously reading all those little nice messages, they are going into your brain and they do have an effect. Like you can write, "You can ace this test" on the top. Things like that. Just, it might seem kind of psychological, and guess what? It is. So, now that you've watched this video, I really, really want you to dig in, give it your best, and come to the test, and let's see what you got. Now that you've watched the video, take a moment to jot down some notes, some questions, or a quick summary of the content. You can also re-watch the portions of the video that were a little bit challenging. If you enjoyed the video, please click like, and if you'd like to help me grow my YouTube channel, please click subscribe.